Yo, Boop, tell them the boxing source dealing with them. Easy, JBZ, I represent, you know. Mr. Killer say, yo, this is the biggest and the baddest association. You don't know, once you're associated with JBZ, everything easy. You don't know, big up the boxing source. Mr. Killer representing for Landry. Bang.
And you said you're a natural 168. Now I heard Benavidez say to Ellie Setback, he was like, I feel like Caleb Plant is not a natural 168. I think he's a 160 pounder. And, you know, he talks all of this junk, you know, on camera or whatever. But when I see him, it's like, you know, we just trying to build up the fight, like you're copping a plea. Is there some truth to that? What do you say to that?
Well, for one, he's talking about weight division I belong in, and he can't even make the 168-pound limit and loses his title for a second time. So I don't think it's really any of his concern on who can make what weight division. He should be concerned on him and, you know what I'm saying, himself making weight. Because he done lost the title for the second time, and the second time is because of weight. So my weight doesn't need to be any of his concern. He's got enough issues with his own weight. He's a 175-pounder, if you ask me. So...
Is Canelo Alvarez the toughest fight outside? You consider yourself the best 168-pounder. Is Canelo tougher than a Benavidez or tougher than a Billy Joe Saunders?
Me and Canelo is the fight to make. That's the biggest fight at 168 pounds. That's the fight to make. So, and as far as when we see each other in person, I mean, he talks all this smack, and then it just when Tony Harrison had to pull out because of his ankle and the Charlo fought Jorge Cota.
Yeah.
Right? I'm walking in the back, looking down, and I see a hand stick out, and I go to reach out to shake it, and I look up, and it's him trying to shake my hand. And then I pull my hand away like, man, don't shake my fucking hand. Who are you? So I don't know what he's talking about, you know, on social media this, on social media that. I don't care about social media. He's whack. They talk a lot of smack, but you see, I had to bust his brother in his chops in the gym, and that's on YouTube. So
that is the IBF super middleweight champion Caleb Plant talking with Ak Barak. That is part of the December 28th, 2020 podcast, the Ak Barak Show. And he was just going over a couple of things there with Ak Barak, including a potential matchup between him and Canelo Alvarez in a super middleweight unification fight, and also comments about him facing Caleb Truax, and that, hey, Caleb Truax was talking some smack to him, you know, back in the day, like a couple years ago or so. So, you know, with Caleb Truax now being the top-rated contender and end up being the IBF mandatory, he wants to go ahead and handle this fight here at the end of January so that he would be free for the rest of 2021 for unification bouts with either Canelo Alvarez or Billy Joe Saunders. But to go back into what Caleb Plant was saying in reference to David Benavidez, and that David Benavidez claimed that Caleb Plant is a 160-pound guy fighting at 168. Well, he had the response about David Benavidez not making weight for his latest fight, which ended up having David Benavidez lose the WBC Super Middleweight Championship, and that is why Canelo Alvarez is now the WBC Super Middleweight Champion alongside being the WBA champ. And at the end of those comments, he did kind of talk about him having a altercation with David Benavidez's brother Jose Benavidez Jr., and that he said that little altercation is on YouTube. You can find it. It's on Fight Hype. I'll just say that. But given all of that, that just means that a potential fight between Caleb Plant and David Benavidez would be definite fireworks there in the super middleweight division. And for a while, that was built up as being the top fight in the super middleweight division before Canelo campaigned there at 168 pounds. Now, after Caleb Plant has his fight with Caleb Truax, we'll see if he does end up getting that unification bout at 168, but also a potential fight between him and David Benavidez. So he was there. He was, talking and giving his thoughts on what was going on and what's been going down as far as like him, chilling since his win over Vincent Figueroa at the beginning of the year. And also, him not being considered as a opponent for Canelo Alvarez, while it ended up being Callum Smith. But he kind of like explained that in detail on the Ak Barak Show on that Monday podcast. But Caleb Plant, David Benavidez, it looks like that rivalry is still having some steam, and it may end up coming to a head possibly in 2021. That's what I got in reference to the topic of Caleb Plant and his potential matchups later in 2021 after his fight with Caleb Truax and a potential fight with former WBC super middleweight champion David Benavidez. You can catch more here on the Boxing Source YouTube channel and catch the podcast that's on iTunes, Google Podcasts, Spotify, whatever you use for your favorite podcast. On that note, folks, I'm out. Peace.